From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 147 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, and the middle chapters for lives of the point of view that is somewhere in the middle. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad to have you here. We like to talk about the things that we like to talk about, and that often includes movies and geek culture things. But today, we're talking about all kinds of other stuff. Last week, we asked the community if there were things that they love that they tried to share with people that they love only to get their heart broken. And so we share some of those stories and talk about those things. We finally answer the question of who the base guy is, Dylan or Corey. And we talk about a possible uptick that we're noticing in the customer service industry in an economy that is underemployed, and a podcast that is normally not political. We toe the line to talk about gun laws for a moment. UFC was happening in our hometown, and then what we're not watching yet is the Oscars. It's all coming up in the next hour. Enjoy.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole. I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
And we're back. Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you again. Welcome to From the Middle.
Yeah,
it's us.
It's Black Shirt Day.
Black Shirt Night here on From the Middle.
We're very macabre.
Shout out to our friends over at Grab 'em in the Brisket podcast for the.
Oh, look at that!
It's the mock Masters of the Universe design.
Yeah,
so I'd like to thank those guys for sending over some shirts.
They did, and they're pretty sweet shirts too.
Indeed.
If we had shirts, I would want to consult with them.
They're very soft. They're very soft shirts.
Very nice.
I like that. That's a big deal.
I am excited to get into the meat of this week's episode because we have a lot to follow up on from episode 146. We talked about a whole bunch of things, as we often do. But one of the things that we touched on, Kendall started the episode by saying that he had just shared Empire Strikes Back with his three children, ages 7 and 6. And that their reaction to the big reveal of Darth Vader being Luke's father was a bit underwhelming. And so we had the idea, wouldn't it be fun if we sort of polled the audience and said, do you have stories of trying to share things with loved ones and just being really, their response left you just feeling very bummed out. They just didn't get it. They didn't get into the thing that you were so excited to share with them. This could be something from your childhood, a favorite movie, a favorite board game, or a hobby or an interest. And so we got a ton of responses, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to dig into some of those. And I know Dylan reached out to some folks on Twitter as well.
I did. I tweeted, and the Twitterverse responded with a handful of replies. So here we are.
Here we are. So do you want to start with some of the Twitter responses? I've got the Facebook ones pulled up.
Yeah. Are we keeping these anonymous? Are these all going to stay anonymous? Is that what we're doing?
I think we can use first names.
Okay. Well, I have Twitter usernames, so I can give you half their username.
Great.
If you want. So yeah. I think the Twitter ones are okay because that wasn't in our private Facebook group. These are out in the Twitterverse. So at Sung Poorly, as in sung a song poorly, if you want to give them a follow. And we shared a response. Oh, we shared the meme. Sorry if you already said that. We shared a meme from the dad group that said, "Hey kids, gather around. I'd like to share with you a classic film from my childhood that literally changed my life and shaped who I am as a person." And the next, and the picture is a little character like shooting a heart out, smiling. And then the other picture in the meme is somebody karate chopping through the heart going, "This is boring." And so there's a little meme. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the meme. If you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening, you should also go to YouTube and subscribe and then listen so you can see the meme. So the response from Sung Poorly was, that meme is the exact reaction an ex of mine had back in the day to the film North by Northwest. A classic spy thriller film, I believe from the 50s.
Yeah.
Really, really lukewarm response. Sung Poorly.
Is that a Hitchcock film?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So sorry. So sorry, Sung Poorly, that you did not get the reaction that you had hoped for.
Oh, bummer. I want to go back and forth.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right. So Sherry, Midler, and regular listener just says 2 words: the cathedrals. The cathedrals, if you don't know, are a sort of barbershop-esque gospel, Southern gospel.
They're a quartet.
Yeah.
And
so we had some good back and forth because I am a fan of the cathedrals. But I said, who was it that didn't get them? I love me some cathedrals. And she said, I have taken grief from everyone.
I wonder if that's
I feel like you have to finish that interchange though.
Yeah, I said Glenn Payne and George Yuntz are dope. Has that sentence ever been written? And she said, it's written on my heart.
I think that's the problem these days, is your point was like using the word dope as an adjective is not something that people who are fans of the cathedrals would do. That's the thing. I feel like if you're not of a relatively specific demographic, chances are likely that you could you could introduce somebody to any gospel quartet and they'll be like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be the cathedrals. It's just a style that they're just not into.
Yeah. Later, she edited her original response to include the Gaithers as well, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which was not a gospel quartet.
No. Yeah. Well, neither are the Gaithers, right?
True.
That's awesome. All right. So here's another response from fellow Odd Pods friends and podcast Beard Al, which is an excellent podcast. They love to discuss all things Weird Al and specialty beers. But Lauren over at the Beard Al podcast said, there have been several people I've tried to share Weird Al with that just shot me down. I choose to no longer associate with those people. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Amen, sister.
And I was able to follow up. I wanted to dig a little deeper. And I said, how did they respond? And Lauren goes on to say, when someone looks me in the eye and says, Weird Al sucks, they are immediately dead to me. I also get the quote, oh, I used to think he was cool when I was a kid line. And that doesn't fly with me either, unless they listen to reason. I explain he's still cool.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. I was able to guest recently on the Beard Owl podcast when we talked about Daniel Radcliffe starring in a biopic about Weird Al. We had an excellent time. And so if you're not into Weird Al, you should go at least check out that movie when it comes out and that episode of the Beard Owl podcast. We had a great time. It was very fun.
Yeah, I feel like Weird Al kind of had his time and place, and yeah, his popularity has definitely dropped off. I don't know why, other than tastes change, people change. Weird Al has not changed. I think
he has not changed, and
he's
hopefully
still very much Weird Al.
Hopefully, with the movie, it spikes back up.
Yeah,
I think he spawned a lot more groups like him. And maybe they're a bit edgier than he is. So they've captured some of that attention, like the Lonely Island Boys being a good example of that kind of, like, you know, they're spoofing real songs, or they're being kind of silly in their songs. But there's this sort of underground movement that Weird Al should do a halftime show. And for the record, I'm 100% on board with Weird Al doing a halftime show. So I think so many people would be so caught off guard, and that's already his shtick. And I think it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
they need to bill it as as like Coolio, and then it's Weird Al coming out doing Amish Paradise.
Or bill it as many artists as he can play in a halftime show.
Yeah.
And then he just comes out and does all of his spoof songs to those artists. That would be wonderful.
I think it'd be hilarious if there's just a crap ton of pyrotechnics and just him and his accordion. No dancers, no fancy stage or backdrop or moving anything, just pyrotechnics and him alone on a stage with his accordion.
These last couple ones, by the way, just a quick note, is something I think I've said before, that like I feel so often with people is you can insult their mothers, you can make fun of their family or their favorite food or their politics or anything else, and a lot of people will be perfectly cool with it. As soon as you go after their favorite musicians, it's lights out.
I think it does feel different with him though, because he always gets permission. So like this isn't him going after musicians.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people telling Weird Al lovers that the Weird Al sucks.
Oh,
or people listening to the cathedrals and saying, yeah, quartet music's not for me. And I feel like people will fight to the death. For their favorite musicians. Dylan today shared an image of Michael Bublé's new album that's coming out. So much for retirement, which I know was a rumor started by Daily Mail. That wasn't like actual. It is not something he actually said, but still, I have nothing wrong with Michael Buble, but I felt so hard that I wanted to like tease you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I have to talk to him tonight.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll put on record that guy just charms my pants right off, so we can go on with another one.
That's Michael Buble just charms my pants right off is the title of this episode for sure. Let's switch gears. We got one from Kent on our Facebook group, From the Middle for the Middlers. It's a fun time over there. So if you haven't joined that group on Facebook, do that. Here's what Ken says. On Mother's Day, me and my wife, fiance at the time, gave a card to my mom with an ultrasound pic of her first grandchild in it. She stared blankly at it and us. Then my stepdad walked out of the room while saying, "Good luck." Definitely not the reaction I was hoping for. But if that's a buzzkill or not what you're looking for, my wife absolutely refuses to watch Battlestar Galactica with me, and I'm pretty sure she judges me whenever I'm playing with my action figures, aka miniature wargaming.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
She is, by the way, she is judging you, but that's okay because we all get it. We're a bunch of nerds and goobers, and we understand.
I feel like you can act callous and cold about absolutely anything to anybody, but the moment that you act callous and cold to their unborn child, they just never mind.
A little different. Yeah.
I was expecting more laughter there. The podcast needs laughter.
Where's that soundtrack? That's stinger when you need it.
You guys are the soundtrack.
Oh, that's right. Zoom was cutting off the laughter because of the interrupting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that funny.
Okay, here's the next one.
I interrupted Dylan. No, I just did it again.
It's fine.
Anyway.
It's fine. Yeah. This is
I'm very sorry, Dylan. I'll try not to do it.
Well, this seems like a great time to take. No, just kidding. What are we in, like 10 minutes? So here's one from Cap Understands. That's the I Understood That Reference podcast out of Ireland, hosted by our friends Rob and Ross. This one's short and sweet. Wayne's World. I tried to show it to someone once and they just didn't get it at all. Sad. I asked for some follow-up. I didn't get any more details, but I could see being very disappointed by that. But that's also a certain, depending on when you showed it to them, that's a very certain specific era of comedy. It's like trying to show somebody Jim Carrey, like 90s Jim Carrey, or Mike Myers in like Austin Powers. And that's a very specific kind of comedy that I guess some people just don't get, but it's hard to imagine at least not thinking parts of it are funny. it was such a popular sketch and set of films.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite and some of the Christopher Guest movies feel like they're in that vein as well. That sort of like obscure, weird, satirical stuff. All right. Here's one from Mike on Facebook. So, I have an extensive figure collection for wrestling and G.I. Joes. I was feeling pretty good about my setup in the basement and had the fam come down to look at them all. I brought them down. They looked around and I asked what they thought of it all. The first response, so how much will these sell for when you're gone? Mike gave us two more, so I'm going to keep going with Mike's. Tried to share our love for Smallville with my son when he was younger. His introduction episode happened to be the one in which Clark Kent uses his X-ray vision and finds a dead body in a wall. Did my son think Superman was awesome? No, he just remembered the dead girl in the wall. To this day, that's all he remembers about us trying to get him to watch Smallville, the dead girl in the wall.
Yeah, I could see that being a pretty memorable part of an episode. Sure.
One more. Early on, while dating my future wife, her family wanted to watch a movie together. I suggested the latest movie with Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney. It looked fun. It was called From Dusk Till Dawn. Little did I realize how raunchy it was going to be. Needless to say, my mother-in-law was not a fan, and I wanted to crawl under a rock. My love for Quentin Tarantino did not translate well with that movie. If I remember correctly, there's some nudity in the bar in that movie, and a lot of blood, as is par for the course for Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, I could see that not going over well.
Yeah, it's okay, Mike. Corey likes adult cartoons, so
that's right.
So here's our last one from Twitter. This is from @HasWild, our good friend Harrison Wild from the Grief Burrito podcast, and he went on to say, with a GIF included. So thanks for that. Souls games like Dark Souls tried to show how wonderful they are, even though they're challenging, to a few friends who won't even give them a chance. I even offered to buy them, and if they didn't like it, they didn't have to pay me back. Thought we were the same, but they stabbed me in the gut with a stabby in the gutty gif. And then I said, did they say why they wouldn't try them? And he said, not their kind of game, but I think they're just scared. It's so much fun battling huge enemies with friends, and it takes the challenge away a little bit. So, there you go.
I'm sorry, Has.
We're going to have to fly to the UK and play the Souls games with Has and Jordan.
Yeah, your non-us friends are the worst.
I mean, so let's say there's a series of games that you're really not into. There's so many video games out there. That's not hard to imagine. If somebody was willing to buy you the game, wouldn't you at least try it?
For sure.
And they're like, if you like it, pay me back. If you don't like it, you don't even have to pay me back. I would try anything. Anything. I would try anything with this. Well, there's all kinds of games that just don't really seem interesting, but if somebody's like, here's a copy, go play some and report back, I absolutely would try it.
Yeah, me too. I feel that way. Sometimes this affects things that I do. For example, so it's been known that I had read further into the Ender's Game series than most people have, and I stopped eventually. I still want to continue back up, but it's hard because no one else is doing it and no one else knows anything about these books, and so I don't have anybody to bounce them off of. And one thing that I a little bit was feeling that way about is the Halo series that's coming out on Paramount, and because I grew up on Xbox and loved Halo, spent way too many hours playing Halo in my formative young adult years. And I'm willing to get a trial or whatever I have to do to short-term Paramount just to watch Halo. But then I know I'm going to come on here and you guys don't care. But I got a text. I got a text message today from friend of the show and master of my fade asking me if I was into it yet. And I was like, dude, I'm going to now.
Nice.
So
that'll be great. You guys can catch up on your next visit.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you do, you can still talk about it. And even though we might not be watching, we're going to want to ask you about it because I don't know enough to know even really the backstory. I never owned an Xbox. I never really played Halo. I mean, a couple rounds if somebody tossed me a controller, but like, I'd love to hear about it. And for all the Halo fans, I hope it's an awesome show.
And Kendall, it's about time that you get to talk about something you're excited about with the other two, us not knowing about it, because we do that to you all the time. So
that's true.
And that is the balance of this triangular platform that is From the Middle. All right. One final respondent from our Facebook group. Her name is Amy. I thought about showing The Princess Bride to the kids the other day, but I just couldn't bear to do it because they would almost certainly hate it. Also, I think just about everything my husband loves is something he has tried to make me love, and I never love it. Fishing, sports, music, movies, etc. And then Sherry pipes up and says, my husband keeps trying to make me watch Star Wars and Marvel.
It's almost like those two women cameoed on our podcast once.
I'm just glad they're both listening at all based on the things they don't like.
That's so one of them is.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Good time.
Oh, wait, no. The other Sherry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is listener Sherry.
Listener Sherry. Listener Sherry.
The one who listens.
The one who listens.
The one who listens.
Kendall, any comments on this random Amy person? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Oh, well, the cat's out of the bag now. Meow. Yeah, no, it's true. And I oftentimes preface with like either acknowledging that I know she doesn't care, but I'm going to talk for the next 5 minutes. Or I make the sarcastic joke about how much she cares about the thing I'm about to talk about. But yeah, no, I do get to I nerd out on things like fishing and whatnot to my wife, and she is a very kind and supportive lady. And she'll listen. She talks to me about stuff about work all the time, and it's not that I'm not interested, it's that I do not understand what she does whatsoever. So she is way smarter than I am.
We love you, Amy. Thanks for listening.
We do.
I just did that to my wife last time I talked to you guys because I figured you would care slightly more than the average person about potentially upgrading headphones. And then I knew I was going to have to do it, talk to my wife about it because there was money involved and not an insignificant amount of money. It's not like $5 headphones to $10 headphones. And God bless her for just hanging in there. And she's like, you can do whatever you want. Cause I'm like, I know this isn't going to be your speed. And so, yeah.
How much does it cost for you to stop talking about this?
What's the end cost on this? Yep. Just do it. You don't need to tell me any more details about, noise canceling levels, battery life, sweat resistance. Doesn't matter. Just go. Pull the trigger.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for responding, Middlers, and be on the lookout. We have some really exciting ideas of more ways to engage with the show, starting at around episode 150. Dylan had a really good idea the other day that we're going to put into full swing a little later. Kendall doesn't probably know what we're talking about yet, but it's happening. So one other way that we want to follow up on last week's episode. So on Middler Billy shared shared a TikTok clip with us of Bass Farher on TikTok and messaged each Dylan and I separately that he had found our doppelganger. He sent the same message to both, and we weren't sure who he meant. So we had some fun taking guesses. We shared that video last week. We followed up. We asked him directly, who were you referring to? Whom were you referring? And he said, I thought it was Dylan. But Kendall has a point. The moves and whatnot are Corey. So anyway, he meant it to be Dylan. So.
I'm sorry, I blacked out. The last thing I heard was Corey. What was the response?
So base fire looks like Dylan.
We'll leave it at Corey. That's the last thing I heard. Anyways.
But he's got those moves like Corey. He's got the moves like Corey. He's got the move. Okay.
Dylan looks like a Corey.
Fun times. All right. Let's go around the horn and just talk about what's going on in our worlds, our respective worlds.
I do have a quick question. This is a perfect time to ask. It's food related. And I want to know the following situation. Especially, we've talked about a lot throughout the pandemic and maybe how short staff places are. Lots of mistakes and errors and things happen. So is the following situation more annoying to you? Or is it something that you would get more excited about? So I know. So here's the quick version of the story, and then you can chime in after. We order pizza. The pizza place has a drive-up window. So we order a couple medium pizzas and a side salad. I look the order over on the online thing. Everything looks good. We go get it. One of the boxes is larger than the other one. So I know something has happened.
Yes.
So as we're picking up the pizzas. So we pull the pizzas in the car, first box, open it up, looks like what we ordered, close it, examine the second box. Now is a larger and wrong pizza order and not the second pizza that we ordered.
Yeah.
So this food is now already in my car and I'm still at the drive-up window. So the assumption is they're not going to want to take this pizza back. So the person comes back to the window, realizing we're still at the drive-in window after they've handed us our food, closed it, and walked away. And I said, hey, this second pizza is not what I ordered. Here you can see on the receipt the exact pizza that I ordered. Would you like this back? They say, no, go ahead and keep that one. What did you order? And they take the receipt. They say it's going to be about 8 to 10 minutes. They're going to make another pizza. Go ahead and pull forward. So we wait. They bring out the correct pizza. Now we have our pizzas. We take the one we didn't want to our in-laws and just drop it off at their house for dinner. But that's the question. Is that whole situation, incorrect food, and then waiting for the correct order, is that more of a nuisance to you? Or like the fat kid inside of me, are you more excited that you like made out with extra food because they didn't want it back? Because most places aren't going to tell you to give the food back once you already are in possession of it. They're going to say, no, just keep it. We'll go ahead and make another one.
I think I'm with you. On the very, very rare occasion that like I'm actually late for an appointment where people are counting on me to like be there with food. Outside of that, in that situation, I feel like I just hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, you basically just said, are you willing to wait 8 minutes for an extra larger than the two you ordered pizza? And the answer to that is, unless I have to be somewhere in 8 minutes, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my thought. Context matters. Here's how they amped it up a little bit. Before we pulled away, when we ordered 2 medium pizzas, they gave us a large one incorrectly and one of the mediums we ordered correctly. Before we pulled away, they said, would you like a drink while you're waiting?
Even better.
They rattle off the drinks. I look to my wife. I let her pick the free drink. She picks. I tell them, we'll have a root beer. She says, would you both like root beers?
Wow.
Jackpot. I say, we'll have one root beer and one diet whatever.
Yes,
She
you
gives
did.
us 2 drinks. Then we pull into the space. Then when they bring out the replacement medium pizza, it's the correct pizza, but also a large when we paid for 2 medium.
Wow.
So now
Dude.
they've given us 2 drinks and we have a medium and 2 large pizzas. And I think it's all based on context. Like you said, if you have somewhere you have to be, this is more of a nuisance. But I realize this is, for me, this is much more an exciting or positive thing also makes me realize how little my time is worth. But
sure,
I'm happy to wait. We made out. We took a whole large pizza to our in-laws' house and they had dinner for free on the pizza place. And all we had to do was wait 8 minutes for it. So anyways, I thought I would bring that up because I'm rarely in a situation where I have to be somewhere that quickly that I wouldn't be more excited about that happening than frustrated to wait.
Yeah.
This gives me hope that the service industry is on its way back and that people are still willing to make things right. Because all that was somebody making something right and going a little bit the extra mile.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy extra mile. That was making it right and just go a little bit the extra mile. Class act. Well done. I'm going to that pizza place.
You had a hell of a day, Dylan. That was
so good. On top of that, I was listening to Michael Bublé's new album 2 times.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Michael Buble has a new album and free pizza all on the same day. That is beautiful.
And we got to be thoughtful to my in-laws and all of it, and took them dinner, which we told them we didn't claim like we bought it. We explained, but like, we're happy to run to your house and drop it off because we don't need a whole extra pizza.
It still points with the in-laws. That's good.
So,
that's a good thing.
Boom. That's one of my updates.
There you go, dude. Yeah. Well, we also had pizza today. By we, just my oldest son and myself went out tonight. And the place we went is my favorite local place here. It's called Stad's. And the guy who owns the place his name is Alex Stadler. And he is probably one of the best small business owners that I know, or at least he's a good example of what a good small business owner looks like, because he took over this place and he's just the place just caught on fire. Like after he took over this pizza establishment, that was like not literally caught on fire, but figuratively. But we were there today, and to Corey's point, in a post-COVID understaffed economy right now, the place was absolutely packed. Like he had to Alex Stadler himself greeted us at the door and then went and cleared off a table so that my son and I could sit down, even though it was technically a reserved table for an entertainment that was showing up later that evening. And that indeed showed up while we were there, just a singer guitar player. And the place was packed out for that guy. And supposedly the place was supposed to be essentially covered and reserved for this guy. But we were just coming in unwittingly, wanting to come in to eat pizza at a place where we like to go to eat pizza. And he let us come in and sit down anyway. And I told him, we'll get out of here as soon as we eat, as it was still early enough in the night that. But so one server, there's probably about 20 tables in the place. Only one server, but Alex himself is running his butt off. He's the one doing all the drinks and seating people and cleaning tables and that kind of thing, so that she can just take orders and pay people out. So mad respect to Alex Stadler and Stad's Pizzeria in Blacklick, Ohio. I had a wonderful experience. That was extra wonderful because we're living in the economy that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
It just, the great ones are kind of shining right now.
That's so true. It's so noticeable when places are fully staffed and do things right and go the extra mile. And people who are just, especially business owners, are always going to work harder than an employee. Yeah. And that's encouraging. We'll shout out and tag both of those places. That's awesome. Speaking of people doing things right. So this isn't going to help the fight that I'm trying to have with Jordan to prove that I'm not bougie, but we had our house cleaned for the first time ever.
For the first time ever.
So on a serious note, this is a gift that I've been wanting to give my wife for a really, really, really long time. And she does a wonderful job taking care of our home. She's a phenomenal homemaker. So what what I intended to be a gift could be misconstrued as like a dig. Like, oh, you don't think I do good enough? No, not that at all. I just want you to not have to worry about it. A monthly service, somebody to come in, a couple hours, whatever. So we had gotten a very strong recommendation for some friends of ours to call this woman Giselle. And Giselle comes over for the first time. She looks at your home and she does an estimate of roughly how long it's going to take to clean your house month to month. But Giselle tells Sherry, the first day we come in, we do a deep clean that could take 6 hours. And we do everything. And so Sherry schedules this deep clean. And it just happens to be a day when I'm in this den doing an executive engagement for my job where I have to be drawing on the iPad. Now, normally the cleaners do not want the residents home. They want the house to themselves so that they can do their thing. But my wife said, my husband has this meeting. There's 40 people. He's sharing his screen. Like, he won't come out, but he can't go somewhere else. So she's like, we'll make an exception. It's fine. So they come over at 9:00 a.m. and I'm in the office literally all day. They were here for 9.5 hours.
Wow.
I left once to go to the bathroom only because I didn't have a cup to pee in here. I didn't eat. I stayed in here. My meeting was over like in the late morning and I just killed time in here. This is a 10 by 10 little footprint. Anyway, to the point I'm trying to make. I'm texting Sherry this whole time. She's like, they're still there. I'm like, they're still there. She's like, how does the house look? I'm like, I don't know. I've been in here the whole time, but I'm sure it looks wonderful. So she's like, okay, you got to go because I actually had an appointment with you guys. And Sherry's like, we'll just come home. Well, while Sherry and the kids are coming home and I'm leaving, there's a bit of a kerfuffle. And the two cleaners that were here, this wasn't Giselle, this was her crew, are in our downstairs bathroom. And there's an issue of some kind. Sherry and the kids aren't home yet. They're on their way. And the crew, Giselle's crew, doesn't speak English. So the guy is in our bathroom and he's gesturing for me to come in a bit of a panic. And he's pointing to the toilet. And he's pointing and pointing and pointing. And he's got the back of the toilet off. And I don't know what he's trying to show me. So he speaks his foreign language into his phone using Google Translate. And the Google Translate text tells me that he broke the float in the toilet, in the continued flushing he was doing, cleaning the toilet. No problem, right? So then he speaks back into his phone and it says, if you buy a new float, just tell me what it is and I'll reimburse you. And I nod, okay. But then he says, or just direct me to the nearest hardware store. And I'm like, wow, what a class act, right? So I type in the address for Ace Hardware, which is less than a mile away from my house. And him and the girl he was with get in their car and they leave. In the meantime, Sherry comes home with the kids and I'm trying to explain to her everything that just happened. They come back from the hardware store. They're installing the float. I'm kind of letting them do their own thing. And I'm in the other room when I hear lots and lots of water sounds.
Oh, no.
Splashing, sloshing, and them speaking to each other very fast and a little panicked and frenzied. And then they're going to running out and getting buckets from their Now, mind you, they've just spent 9.5 hours here doing the deepest of deep cleans. Our home looks and smells better than it did on the day we bought it. But now I'm hearing their footprints in my bathroom in water and sloshing sounds. And all I can think is, I better run downstairs to see if this is running through the floor. Sure enough, I've got all this stock down in the basement of canvases and illustration boards and boards that I want to paint on. And it's just pouring water into the basement as he tries to repair the float. And I'm thinking, what is it? All you're doing is the float. What did you anyway? But I'm also like, I don't want to offend them by like trying to handle it. Like he's trying to handle it, but I'm also like, hey, no big deal. But like, do you want me to shut off the water to the house? Or anyway, It ended up being fine. They got the water to stop pouring through the floor. He even offered to go clean the basement, which was an area of the house we told them not to worry about to make up for the issue. But I was like, what a class act to not only offer to reimburse, but then just go and get the float that was probably already nearing broken anyway. Shame about the water damage, but it was such an awkward position to find myself in because I wanted to end on a positive of like, you all just gave us this incredible gift and did an amazing job. But I've been in this office for 9 hours. I just want to eat and go to the bathroom and not have water damage in my house. Anyway, I couldn't recommend their service enough. For real. Because accidents happen. It wasn't their fault. Phenomenal. Like Sherry could not get over. She kept walking through the house for days going, oh my gosh, they even did this. Oh my gosh, they even cleaned out the oven. They bleached the baseboards and the doors. Oh, honey, look over here. And you know what? The greatest gift of all to me was, and then I'll shut up. The evening after they had come and done everything, there was nothing my wife could do in the house. And I came home to find her playing piano. And I was like, what? That's worth it right there. Like she couldn't clean or do anything if she wanted to, because our whole house is spotless and she's playing piano. And the kids were like, I didn't know mommy could play that well. And I'm like, see what happens when we keep a clean house. So anyway,
I mean, we knew daddy was pretty good at video games.
So thanks Giselle and team, and I will recommend them to anyone because I was like, that is the best. Like once a year deep clean of your house. I've never in my 37 years lived in a house where that was something that anybody had done, and it's just amazing.
Speaking of cleaning up, how about some ads?
Yay!
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
I'm Jamie.
We're Married with Television, marriedwithtv.com. We are a couple of Hollywood normies on the outskirts of the film and TV industry, and we talk about our favorite TV shows, music, and movies, and sometimes they talk back to us.
Sometimes they do.
Our podcast is Married with Television, one word, on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Possibly Amazon soon. And we are a proud member of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Married with TV.
MarriedWithTV.com.
Don't you guys hate it after you take a shower and you're feeling real clean and good and you get out of the shower and you have a big wet fart and you're just like, I just ruined everything I just did in there. I might as well hop back in. Anyway.
No. I'm sorry. I have a follow-up question to that. Did you have more?
No.
You thought you were just saying something nonsensical, and I'm like, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, we try to do these post-ad break sort of like comical little things. Right, and I thought I'd throw in a little clip that like everyone struggles with this, right? Don't you hate it when...
Here's the problem with me is like you guys like analyze movies and things that much of which I have seen, but just don't know nearly to the extent that you guys do. But like my brain actually thinks about stupid stuff all the time. And so you say something like that, I've thought about it. and I have a question.
Yeah, fire away.
As to maybe I'm the only one, but why is it exactly that shower farts always smell stronger and worse? Or am I the only one who gets this?
No, I mean, first of all, the question came from somewhere. Like clearly I've thought about this before, so don't feel too bad. Okay. Because you're sitting in a hot box of steam. And so when you add that to the hot box of steam that's already filled with moving air, hot air, it's worse.
There's no cotton filter.
There's no cotton filter, correct.
Yeah. It just, but it still always surprises me. And I've recently had that experience that you just, I didn't think to myself, I need to go back in there and shower again. But I did, like, as I'm turning water off, I'm like, stupid. Because like the shower smelled wonderful. It smelled like tea tree mint. And so I was going to towel off and enjoy the scent of, nope, I just ruined that.
Speaking of,
I'm going to dry off to the smell of yesterday's jambalaya.
Speaking of tea tree mint, Sherry and I had a wonderful lunch on the square in our little town. And we sit down and I see him, the artiest man. Jeff Piles at the other end of the bar. And he looks my way and I give a friendly wave. And Sherry and I continue our conversation. And then Jeff gets up from said bar to walk to the restroom. And I stop him and we have a wonderful, short little conversation. And then he messages me later and we had the biggest laugh because he didn't realize who I was. And I, like a big jerk, assumed he knew who I was. But then I remembered that the episode in which he was a guest was the only episode in 147 episodes that I've missed. And he's never really seen my face, even though we're Facebook friends. So I'm over here thinking I'm a big deal. And we're talking about the Columbus Crew and laughing about all kinds of things. And for a moment when we were talking, there was a second where he had this deer in the headlights. And Sherry still doesn't know that he didn't know who I was because I haven't told her yet that he messaged me later. And he's like, dude, I was struggling so hard to place you. Like, that's really funny.
Man, do I have a podcast recommendation for him?
No kidding. Yeah. Of course, everybody went. I just got my house cleaned. And I go to the VIP area of soccer games, and I've ridden in a Tesla.
Oh my gosh!
You don't know who I am.
So embarrassing. So then he's like, "Hey, man,
funny.
We should have lunch. I'm usually there once a week. We should have lunch. It'd be a great blind date." Sorry, Jeff. Speaking of sports in Columbus, UFC was here tonight.
Sure they were, yeah.
Man, and there was some epic fights. I watched a little bit of it right before we logged in.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't have like VIP backstage passes or something.
All right, that's enough of that. Completely sold out. I mean, the place was electric. And some of the fighters, after they would win, when they'd get interviewed by DC, they'd be like, OH, and the whole place would erupt with IO. It was really cool. So
yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah. So, did you guys hear that DeWine signed this bill into law that, and we don't get political on this podcast, but I do find it interesting. It's worth bringing up. So we've always had open carry. You can open carry without a permit, a firearm. To get concealed carry, you need to take 8 hours of classroom and go, a part of which is going out to a range where a professional confirms that you know your way around a firearm. He signed into law that's going to take an effect in a couple months. You don't need a permit. You don't need anything to conceal a firearm. And oh, by the way, if you get stopped by law enforcement, you have no duty to inform them that you're carrying a firearm. If they ask, you have to tell them. But you used to have to inform them that you were carrying, whether or not they said anything. And, well, I don't see this going anywhere good, at least for the first little bit, because I think people will be really excited and take full advantage of that and like almost be looking for a fight. And then maybe it'll cool off over time, but I don't know how I feel about it. As somebody who strongly believes in the right to bear arms, this seems a little interesting choice.
Yeah, I think the duty to inform was a really nice step, especially with law enforcement, just to make sure they know that you're carrying. To me, that seems like a very reasonable ask of a gun owner. Especially in this part of the country, you're gonna be hard pressed to find many people who aren't okay with people owning guns. That's just the part of the country that we live in. But I just think that was a really minimal ask. Just you get pulled over, you get stopped, let them know, hey, just so you know, I've got a gun, I've got a license. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Okay, all right. To put a little bit of perspective on this,
sure.
This isn't when you look at the United States as a whole. This is actually kind of a middle of the road move, not an extreme one. We're like the 22nd state now who doesn't require a permit to conceal a weapon. So it's not as if we're a part of a vast minority here. Well, and a second thing, so the duty to inform hasn't been totally lifted. It just the onus is now on the police officer to ask.
Right.
And it is now a felony to lie to them when they do.
Right.
So like that's still being handled. All they have to do is make that part of the cop's protocol. When the cop thinks that, at a traffic stop or anything, just ask you, do you have a weapon on you? Now it's a felony if you say no and you do have a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my only concern was less situations where there would be a normal calm protocol and more situations where they come up on a situation where things are already a little out of control or already escalated, where maybe they jump to one of the first things they don't ask maybe is if anyone is carrying or whatever. But again, laws can also be reversed. So we'll see how it goes.
But that's when it gets into the whole big political debate of how many of those situations already had guns and this law changes nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll see.
So
now an even hotter topic. What do we feel about getting rid of daylight savings time?
I have actually started to hear debate about that. I don't know if I mentioned it on here or not, but it was I was just waiting for the ball to drop that Senate passes, pre-approves, votes on 100% unanimous to get rid of daylight savings time or to make daylight savings time permanent. That's what it is. And so the time that we're on right now would be forever, but starting in next year. And so the thought was like, man, that's weird. The entire Senate agreed on something. And then it's like, now it's going to go to the House. How is this going to get political? Because it's going to. And I've already heard some chatter that actually starts to make me think, well, maybe there's some actual debate to be had here. And so basically the question, the big debate that I've heard is, would you rather, for people who are traveling an hour or so, commuting an hour or so to work, do you want your morning drive to be in the dark, or do you want your evening drive to be in the dark?
Right.
Either way, one of those is going to be in the dark. And so you have people that they want the sunrise to be happening while they're driving. It wakes them up more, that kind of thing. And then there's the others who are like, yeah, but I get depressed when it's dark and I'm driving home. So,
yeah.
Dylan, the history guy in the room, do you have any thoughts about, this all started to conserve candle wax and
but to put farmers on closer to a 9-to-5 with everyone else is what I thought.
Yeah.
There's no way that even from a history perspective that you can consider the effects on every industry, right? Because there's jobs that you don't even think about that this is gonna impact people all over. But I don't know. This is something that I think something like a permanent daylight savings time has something like a high 80% approval rating among voters. So I don't know that there's a ton of thought to be put into this, that if the Senate can unanimously approve it, the House is going to have a ridiculously strong majority approve it. Yeah. And the strong majority of voters are going to approve it. So sure, there's going to be some ramifications for certain industries that don't like it or whatever. It's not about agriculture anymore. but I don't know many people that like it being dark when they walk out of their office at 5:04, p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think I don't think remote work is going away. So the number of people who would have more daylight hours after work, that they're home with their kids and their family and they're running kids to sports and they're doing whatever. I think the number of people that want more daylight hours after work is only going to be higher. If there's more remote workers, that means there's less commuting overall, even if it's anywhere from, I've seen numbers based on like how many people, what percentage of the American population could actually like work from home. It's anywhere between 30 to 60, depending on whether it's corporations who want workers back in office or the actual people working who say they could do their job from home. That's a lot of people that are going to probably prefer those daylight hours at the end of their workday. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll pass. I'm sure it'll become permanent, and I'm all for it. So it'll be interesting if there's any actual good arguments from the let's keep doing this switch 2 times a year thing.
I just think it's,
and some states don't do it at all. So it's not like the whole US unanimously does it, together. There's several states that opt out entirely. So
true.
Yeah, I just think it's just crazy to me that something we've been doing for my 37 years of existence. I guess it officially passed into law in like 1966. But like something we've been doing my whole life is going away, and we're just like, oh, is there really a good reason anymore? So
yeah. I mean, I feel like the reasoning against it is the exact same as the reasoning for it. And so I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just think there's a kind of like what Dylan said. Like, it's just there's more people who would rather it get darker later than people who care about their morning drive. I've heard a lot of people over the years complain about it being dark when they get home. I have only one person that I'm aware of who would rather it be light when they're driving into work.
And of the 87% that want it permanent, this is the part I'm going to make up. 74%. I don't give a crap. I'm just a parent, and I don't want my kids having weird sleep schedules 2 times a year and jacking up their sleep. So they're like, so just make something permanent so we don't have to do this anymore.
My personal stance on this one is I don't give a rat's ass.
I don't give a tiny rat's ass.
I've never noticed it really affect me. So
speaking of things we don't care about, does anybody plan on watching the Oscars on Sunday night?
They still do that, huh?
They still do that. And boy, are they laying on the wokeness this year just from the looks of the trailers.
Are they really?
Well, just the inclusion and like, which, because they've been criticized strongly for not being inclusive. So it's like all female hosts, and it'll be interesting. Hey, I'm all for, love it, awesome. But it's,
I would be far more excited if we could have an annual blockbuster award, and I would be a lot more excited. I normally do watch it. I might try to watch some of it and see, because I do like watching some of the trailers and seeing some of the people that work on the film talk a little bit about it, because sometimes it does motivate me to go watch something that I wouldn't have seen before. Other times it's meaningless. And I would have never, a perfect example, I would have never watched the film Parasite if I had not watched the Oscars where that won Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I never would have watched it. And it ended up being a really good movie, obviously. But I wouldn't have known that. So I do like trying to catch it. And maybe I'll share some thoughts on our social channels or on the next episode if anything interesting happens and I catch it.
I am mostly joking. I am DVRing it. I'll be on a plane while it's happening, but I am excited that they're doing a tribute to 60 years of Bond. And they are also doing a tribute to the Godfather franchise, which looks like it'll be interesting segments too, and some interesting musical guests. So yeah, I'll skim through it, but yeah, we've talked about award shows a lot, and so I thought I'd ask.
Speaking of Bond, I think your boy Jeff Bezos picked up the rights to making Bond films. on top of currently making a Lord of the Rings series that airs this year. So from what I've heard already, a rumor, the first Bond product from Amazon Studios will not be a film, but will in fact be some kind of game show. I shouldn't say in fact, it's a rumor, but could in fact be some kind of Bond game show.
That takes place in outer space.
No idea. It could be.
Could do it.
Here's what I'm thinking. I want if this is going to be true, I want some kind of Legends of the Hidden Temple / American Ninja Warrior type show where people have to wear a suit and do all kinds of crazy, like physical things like Bond.
Yes.
And then they give them little gadgets to do it. That would be fun.
Oh, man.
That would be
beautiful.
I will be in a room this coming week with the new CEO of Amazon. So I'll run that by him.
Yeah. Well, just not screwing up Bond and Lord of the Rings would be like top priority. But past that, if the rumor is a game show, just mention those two reference points. Legends of the Hidden Temple, American Ninja Warrior, cross that, give people gadgets, make them wear a suit, and give them challenges. Be kind of interesting.
See if I could throw it in.
Yep. Just mix it into the conversation. This is really good Colby Jack cheese. So anyways, I assumed you'd be having hors d'oeuvres because why not? Right. You know,
it's pronounced whores divorce.
Okay. Well, we'll ask our friends at Grief Burrito and see if they agree. That's fun. There are resident Europeans. So like
resident user.
It's not even
isn't this French? But they're the closest thing we know to French.
Yep. Don't know any French podcasters. So we just have to ask the guys at Grief Burrito. Hey, you're close enough to France.
Yeah.
I had so many random and unrelated bullets on our shared note, and I thought there's no way we're going to get to all these this week. And somehow we have done it.
All right.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud of that.
This has been really fun, and I always love catching up with you guys. And thanks for accommodating my weird schedule this week. Hey, Jeff Piles, Artiest Man, thanks for doing business with you. My name's Corey, by the way. This is my face. This is what I look like. If I see you at Serve next week, this is me, Corey, bald guy, beard, devilishly handsome. Thanks for the partnership. Go to artiestman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code THEMIDDLE at checkout to get 25% off of all your orders of amazing men's grooming products. I highly recommend the tea tree mint, as we have mentioned multiple times. Just got that little bit of kick to it. Feels nice on your face. Smells wonderful too. They've got a lot of amazing products. Be sure to check it out if you want. And we will be back next week with another episode. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the correspondence. See you next time.
Yeah.
Billy? Hello? Is anybody here? I was going to try to take a shower.